An employee who can't even handle work of this level is useless. You high school dropout. Get lost? When Lena was newly appointed as a manager of the development department, she started making cruel insults towards me after finding out I was a high school dropout. However, to directly insult me as incompetent and useless is unacceptable behavior for a professional. If I stay at this workplace any longer, I will only be treated worse. I understand. I resign from this company. Finally, who you are, huh? Someone like you must have been a burden on companies until now. Please leave right away. I had no choice but to write and submit my resignation letter on the spot. However, the next day after resigning, I received a frantic phone call from the frantic CEO Johnson. My name is Bob. I'm a 56-year-old ordinary company employee. I didn't like studying at school, so after being kicked out from high school, I immediately got a job at Johnson Construction Incorporated and joined the development department. CEO Johnson has encouraged me since long ago when I was completely clueless as a high school dropout. Thanks to him, I think I was able to make career advancement. So until the day I resigned, I wanted to repay CEO Johnson as much as I could. The development department requires handling various difficult adjustments, so it's not very popular. But I like this job, imagining that the systems I devised make the work easier and more understandable for factory workers and that convenient machines can be easily used at any factory to reduce the burden on those working on-site motivated me to work hard. Through this diligent work style, time passed and I gained top-class knowledge and experience in this industry. Following my guidance, many employees joined forces to complete major projects. Of course, hardships and setbacks are inevitable until completion. Things often don't go smoothly, and it's rather rare for things to proceed smoothly. But that's why the joy of somehow managing to complete a project and successfully present it is so great. I have a wife and young daughter, and both of them support me to get home as early as possible. For the family that always welcomes me with a smile, I work hard, of course, since I'm assigned a large workload. I often end up getting home late. To make time for my family, I sacrifice break times and try to finish work even just 1 minute earlier, but I can probably work this hard because the development job suits my personality. My colleagues jokingly call me a typical workaholic, but I'm just doing what I like. Ever since this company hired me when I was young, I've been devoted solely to development work. For me, my current workplace is like a heaven where I can continue verifying my full potential. However, I also value time with family, so on holidays, I spend time with them. Although I love my work, I believe life has many enjoyable things besides just work. Thinking that way on weekends, I would take my wife and daughter traveling, shopping, and enjoy family bonding time. I was satisfied with this lifestyle, balancing work and family, and wanted to keep working while preserving this happiness. Fortunately, CEO Johnson also seems to value family, judging by how he never showed an unpleasant reaction when I took leave or occasionally left early for family reasons. CEO Johnson, who trained me as a developer since the company was small, would often chat with me. Sometimes he treated me to lunch or drinks, and we deepened our bond like family. We discussed maintaining a balance between the company's growth and daily family life, but that work-life balance was abruptly disrupted one day. The trigger was CEO Johnson collapsing while out. 2 weeks ago, I had heard he hadn't been feeling well for years, but he lost consciousness at work and was taken to the hospital. We were told the shocking news that the CEO was hospitalized. Apparently, CEO Johnson's life wasn't in danger, but concerning issues requiring surgery were found on his heart. Fortunately, the surgery was successful, but due to his age, he is currently hospitalized. Until then, the vice CEO had been filling in for the CEO's duties, with the senior managing director taking over the vacant vice CEO position, resulting in temporary personnel shifts within the company. In the midst of this, a woman named Lena was appointed as the new manager of the development department, where I work. She was apparently the CEO's relative and rumored to be a talented woman who graduated from a prestigious university. We were filled with expectations that she must be a capable person, but those hopes were quickly shattered on her first day of appointment. As we were diligently working, Lena, the manager, appeared in the development department. The employees thought she had come to greet us and were ready to welcome her, but Lena stood in front of us with her arms crossed, silently glaring at each one of us. When it was my turn, She glared at me with an intense expression, leaving me utterly confused. Since I've come to the development department, I'll have you thoroughly eliminate waste and maximize results. Give up on the lukewarm environment until now and diligently follow my methods. These were Lena's first words, making me a little nervous that I couldn't afford any mistakes. The previous manager was an amiable person who was always smiling, and employees trusted him enough to casually consult him or apologize to report mistakes. But with this new manager, Lena, there was no doubt she would scold us sternly with that harsh expression if we made a blunder. With Lena advocating a results-first policy, everyone in the development department was tense. That day ended with her abrupt declaration that left us baffled, but the reason for Lena's outburst soon became clear. The next day, Lena suddenly barged into my section and yelled loudly enough for the whole office to hear, "Is there an employee named Bob? Where's Bob?" She kept shouting loudly, leaving everyone in the section dumbfounded. As the one call out, I got up from my desk without understanding the situation and walked over to Lena. "I'm Bob, but what can I do for you?" I couldn't recall doing anything at the company to deserve being scolded, nor did I remember being glared at by Lena, whom I had just met yesterday. Perplexed by this treatment, I cautiously asked her. Then, in front of everyone in the buzzing section, Lena said something outrageous to me. "I heard you're a high school dropout. Is that true? It must be a mistake." "Yes, I am indeed a high school dropout." Confused by her sudden remark, I answered honestly. Lena's face then contorted as she spat out, "Our company has business partners nationwide, and yet a high school dropout employee has slipped in. What a waste of salary." From that day on, Lena started assigning an onslaught of tasks to the entire development department. It was an overwhelming workload, perhaps twice what we had been handling before. My colleagues soon gave up halfway through, earning harsh scolding from Lena, but I made every effort possible and somehow managed to complete the work. Though I wasn't conscious of it, I may have become stubborn about showing Lena, who had disdained me for being a high school dropout, that I could do the job regardless of my education. In the end, I was the only member of the development department who completed Lena's instructions. I had expected her to finally acknowledge my ability, but it seemed to backfire. After that, Lena singled me out completely. While my colleagues' workloads were reduced back to normal levels, I was assigned special tasks that kept me busy day after day. This would surely interfere with my regular duties. Feeling a sense of crisis, I mustered the courage to directly appeal to Lena. "My workload is a bit too much. Do you have a problem with that? I'm the manager. I instructed you to do it, so just obediently do as you're told." She dismissed me without listening, leaving me with pent-up frustration. The tasks themselves were simple, but the sheer volume was the issue. No matter how minor they were claimed to be, I was spending over 5 extra hours per day on them as instructed. As a result, I was consumed by work from morning till night. Even after getting home, my mind was filled with work matters. I no longer had time to converse with my family, and my wife and daughter were so worried about me that they couldn't even call out to me. At this rate, my health would surely deteriorate. Thinking this, I pressed Lena further. "But having me single-handedly take care of this massive amount of tasks is too reckless, isn't it?" What a whiny thing to say. Doing work is part of being a company employee, or is it that with your high school dropout brain, you don't understand societal norms? Lena dismissed me without listening, sneering at my opinion, but I couldn't back down after being treated like this. However, at this rate, I won't be able to maintain the quality of my regular work assignments since the tasks are concentrated solely on me. Could you please consider reducing the volume? That's not just a matter of your low brain power. There's no such convenient deal where you can slack off and still get paid. It seemed nothing got through to Lena. If this continues, not only will my work be half-baked, but I won't be able to make my family happy when I get home because I'll be preoccupied with work. I was about to open my mouth again in an attempt to get Lena to understand when she said, "An employee who can't even handle work of this level is useless. You high school dropout, get lost." "Excuse me," utterly shocked, I instinctively asked her to repeat herself. To directly insult me as incompetent and useless to my face is unacceptable behavior for a professional. But Lena, looking down at me with a disdainful gaze as I stared at her in disbelief, spat out. Didn't you hear me? I said get lost, or can't your high school dropout brain understand? Do you mean you were firing me? I can't accept that. Please tell me why I deserve to be fired. Why would I, who has diligently worked until now, suddenly be fired without reason? Furious, I fired back strongly. Lena then looked at me with a condescending expression and sneered. I don't want to delve into it. Weirdly, I didn't say you're fired. I'm saying this department doesn't need you. Apparently, even Lena understands that as a manager, she doesn't have the authority to unilaterally fire an employee. However, she maintained her mocking expression as she hesitantly continued. But for someone like you, a high school dropout, working in the development department of a large company like ours is probably too difficult. Don't you think? I believe there is a more suitable department for you. So, you were telling me to leave the development department because I'm a high school dropout. I asked persistently while restraining my anger. The rest of the department was focused on our exchange, and the atmosphere was tense. But Lena stated it as if it were obvious. That's right. It's settled, isn't it? Being undereducated is proof that you've been running away from studying all this time. She then flicked my computer screen in a mocking way. A high school dropout like you can't use a computer, can you? You've just been pretending to work in front of the computer. With that, she arbitrarily deleted the data I was working on. I turned pale and frantically tried to stop her. What are you doing? Don't tamper with it without permission. No need to panic. I'm just deleting what you didn't need. I thought it would be better for a high school dropout like you to find work that doesn't require using your brain. No matter how I tried to reason with her, Lena wouldn't listen. Utterly exasperated by her outrageous behavior, I realized that if I stayed at this workplace any longer, I would only face worse treatment. Having a deep sigh, I steeled my resolve. I understand. I will resign from this company. Finally realized your place, huh? Someone like you must have been a burden on companies until now. Please disappear right away. I couldn't find any words to respond, merely muttering to myself. This company will probably go bankrupt. I had no choice but to write and submit my resignation letter on the spot. As I returned to my desk to prepare for resignation, Lena gloated with raucous laughter. It was decided that I would resign at the end of the month, so I used my remaining paid leave for time off at home. On the day of my official resignation, I departed from the company I had worked at for so many years. I felt a tinge of sadness that my decades of hard work could be so easily erased, but at K Company, I could no longer muster the spirit to put in more effort. However, the day after resigning, as I was leisurely passing time at home, my cell phone suddenly started ringing frantically. The caller display showed it was the CEO. Just as I expected he would call, I answered calmly, but from the other end came a frantic atmosphere. Bob, is that you? Yes, it's me. I'm very happy for you that you made a recovery and were discharged from the hospital, sir. The CEO's voice sounded quite frantic, but that was understandable. After I calmly congratulated the CEO on his discharge, he'd hardly cut me off. No, never mind my health. More importantly, why aren't you at the company? Why did you submit a resignation letter? Well, after you were hospitalized, there were some complications. Picking up on the implication of my words, the CEO briefly held his breath, but soon said, The company is in serious trouble right now. Can you please come to the company no matter what? I don't mind, but I think Lena, the manager, will be angry with me. Sensing there was meaning behind my words, the CEO immediately reacted. Lena was involved in your resignation. Yes, well, all the development department employees are aware of the situation. Hearing my response, the CEO let out a bitter sigh. I see, I understand. Then we'll have Lena attend as well. Bob, can you get ready and come to the company right away? Apparently, with me gone, the company had fallen into serious trouble. Hearing the CEO's frantic voice, I agreed to head over immediately. If it's the CEO's request, I'll head over right away. Thank you. I know it's rushed, but please come as soon as possible. After saying that, the CEO hung up with what sounded like a relieved tone. A natural smile appeared on my face as I moved the phone from my ear. I had a feeling this would happen around the time the CEO was discharged, but I was surprised at the impeccable timing. Pondering this, I calmly got ready and left home. After a long absence, I headed to the company and the designated meeting room as instructed. Standing outside the door, I could hear voices coming from inside. Peeking through the gap, it seemed the CEO and Lena had already arrived. So I'll ask again, explain why this happened. Well, about that. Bombarded with the CEO's insistent questioning, even Lena could only hang her head and mutter something inaudibly. Her demeanor further incensed the CEO. You're the manager of the development department, aren't you? Explain why all the systems are down, and you can't even answer anything about Bob's resignation. The moment my name was mentioned, Lena flinched like she had been struck by lightning. Yet she still stubbornly refused to open her mouth. If Bob from the development department was here, he could fix the system issues. But I hear you're the one who drove Bob to resign. Well, you see, there was a reason for that. Lena's voice grew progressively smaller and shakier, clearly cowering even from the other side of the door. In contrast, the CEO's voice grew increasingly angry and louder. Explain yourself. You were Bob's direct supervisor. Actually, about the reason for Bob's resignation, there were some circumstances. Lena was being evasive, leaving the situation in an awkward atmosphere of not knowing what to do next. Seizing this timing, I forcefully opened the door to the meeting room. Pardon the interruption, it's me, Bob. Spotting me, the CEO's face broke into a delighted smile as he exclaimed happily, Bob, I've been waiting for you. Thank you for coming quickly. In contrast to the CEO beckoning me expectantly, Lena was pursing her lips with displeasure, shooting me resentful glares. But I ignored it and greeted the CEO. Long time no see, CEO. I'm glad to see you're feeling better. I'm very happy for you that you made a recovery, sir. Yes, I'm completely recovered now. Thank you. Seeing the CEO smiling in front of me, I felt relieved. The CEO gripped both my hands firmly with joy. After the reunion greetings concluded, I grinned and said, It seems you're having some trouble this time. What happened? Yes, about that, Bob. Just as the CEO was about to explain, Lena interrupted sharply with a glare. Why are you here? You're an outsider now. You can't just barge in, Lena protested. I didn't come on my own. I called Bob here, the CEO stated. Lena froze momentarily in surprise at the CEO's words, but she quickly regained her composure and furrowed her brow as she confronted him. Why did you summon Bob, CEO? The company can function without Bob. He's solely in charge of systems management. He's an essential asset to us. Lena stared blankly at the CEO, seeming utterly clueless about what he was saying. It seemed she truly had no information about my importance, despite repeatedly insulting me as a high school dropout and incompetent before. As she remained oblivious to my role, I couldn't help but smirk and offer, since you appear to be completely unaware of the situation, shall I explain it to you? My condescending tone immediately caused Lena's ears to turn beet red as she glared angrily at me, but I calmly met her gaze and stated the facts. I developed the nationwide factory systems used across all 50 of Johnson Construction's plants. All the management, maintenance, and inspections of the systems we've utilized were handled solely by me. Still, Lena seemed unable to comprehend my words, furrowing her brow in utter confusion as to what I was telling her, so I elaborated further for her benefit. The production manager systems used at the 50 factories across the country were created by me. However, the other day when I resigned, I initialized the systems before leaving the company. Even if you claim you made them, the systems belong to the company, don't they? How dare you do such a unilateral thing? I'll make you pay for the company's losses. Finally grasping the situation, Lena turned pale as she confronted me furiously, but her criticism completely missed the mark. I personally hold the patents for the factory systems in use during my employment. I merely let the company use them, so it's only natural I deleted them upon resigning. That can't be true. There's no way a mere high school dropout employee. Lena's eyes widened dramatically as if she had finally understood everything, seemingly never having properly reviewed the handover documents from the previous manager. Yet even if she had observed my daily work, she should have grasped the importance of the systems I handled. But Lena clearly had no interest in her subordinates' work nor any intention of diligently performing her managerial duties. In our company, patents developed by individuals belong to those individuals as per employment contracts. So the patent rights to the production management systems across all factories belong to me personally, not to the company. That's precisely why we had Bob working in the development department all this time, and when I was hospitalized and then informed that Bob had resigned, I was so shocked I nearly collapsed again, the CEO said, clutching his chest with a heavy sigh. While I felt bad for causing the CEO unnecessary worry, Lena was the root cause of this situation. As I gave her a smile, she vehemently shook her head in disbelief. "No way! I can't believe it! You're just an incompetent high school dropout employee. There's no way an undereducated person like you could handle the difficult task of systems development." You may not want to believe it, but those are the facts. I had always hated studying confined to set curricula in school. Instead, I voraciously studied and accumulated knowledge in fields that piqued my interest. When I first joined Johnson Construction, I heard about plans to implement production management systems at the factories. Intrigued, I initially self-studied before the CEO began supporting me, allowing me to attend seminars while undertaking systems development. That sparked my journey from creating simple initial systems to the complex advanced ones currently used. My work underpinned all the company's production management systems. As I explained with a smile, Lena fell silent with tears in her eyes. After a pause, she finally spoke, trying a different approach. "But I didn't know any of this. No one told me, so it's not my fault." "What are you saying as a manager? It's only natural you should take the initiative to oversee your department." The CEO chastised Lena, exasperated. I then vented the feelings I had bottled up directly to Lena. "Are you making excuses, saying it's not your fault? The factory systems were deleted just because no one informed you. Are you blaming others for the situation you created? It's Bob's fault for not properly explaining about the patents when resigning. If he had clearly told me, this wouldn't have happened." No matter what was said, Lena refused to admit her fault. Seeing her stubbornly cry and shift blame, the CEO heaved a deep sigh. "You're my late brother's daughter, so I had you work at the company to honor his wishes. But after this incident, I can no longer overlook your actions. Your education may be impressive, but your work ethic and contributions to the company are far more incompetent." Firmly rebuked by her uncle, the CEO, Lena clenched her fists in frustration and hung her head, seemingly reflecting on her actions. The CEO turned away from Lena to face me directly. "Bob, I'm sorry this happened, but please won't you return to the company? We need your capabilities." The CEO's words genuinely delighted me, and I felt my cheeks relax into a smile. Moreover, if I didn't return, not only would the company grind to a halt, but many employees besides Lena and their families would be left to drift. That was never my intent, and this seemed like a good opportunity for the CEO to hear about the patience I had exercised. After contemplating, I responded, "Your words mean a lot to me, CEO. If possible, I would like to continue my systems work at this company as before. However, if you have any dissatisfactions or requests, feel free to voice them." Seeing the concern on the CEO's face as he looked at me intently, I decided to speak up boldly. "For me to return to the company, and I have one condition, that Lena leaves the company." "You needn't get fired from the company?" Lena reacted most promptly to my words, suddenly breaking her silence to protest angrily as she confronted me. But the CEO stated matter-of-factly, "If that's all it takes, you can return immediately. In that case, you are fired. Pack your things and leave right now." While I felt relieved that the CEO readily accepted my request, Lena panicked. "Wait a minute. While my blunder was inexcusable, firing me outright is too extreme. What are you saying? Didn't you essentially force Bob out of the company in this manner?" the CEO coolly pointed out. Lena teared up, dumbfounded for a moment, but realizing the CEO would not change his mind, she turned her focus to me pleadingly. Bob, I'm really sorry. I misunderstood you and said such awful things." Giving me an ingratiating look, Lena switched to a sacker tone. "I'll apologize for everything, so won't you come back? You can keep working as before." An apology won't suffice. Don't be so insolent. You need to take responsibility for causing this uproar, the CEO admonished sternly. Lena frantically tried to backpedal. Please wait. I've deeply reflected. I'll be careful to prevent any such situations from now on. It seems you still fail to grasp the gravity of your actions. More than anything, you've lost the essential element of trust, the CEO stated firmly. Rebuked so harshly, Lena dissolved into heavier sobs. She repeatedly apologized afterward, but the CEO's anger remained unyielding as he ordered her to take a leave of absence. Finally seeming to accept that no amount of apologies would be accepted, Lena muttered under her breath as she stood up abruptly and left the company premises. Afterwards, Lena never returned to the company. Even when summoned after her leave ended, she repeatedly missed appointments, offering excuses each time to avoid coming in. Eventually, Lena was officially fired from the company, but being fired did not absolve her of the consequences of her actions. The CEO filed a claim against the former manager, Lena, for damages caused to the company. Further claims for losses from factories and clients who couldn't operate during the outage pile on debts, forcing her to flee back to her family home. Attempts at finding new employment seemed futile. Not only was she aging, but she was reportedly too selective about the work as well, leaving her without any prospects. In the end, her relative managed to arrange a stay-in job for her through connections, and she seems to be working steadily. The debt is an amount that she can never pay back, but she has no choice but to keep working until the debt is gone. As for me, after that incident, I was asked by the CEO to return to the company. Thankfully, thanks to the CEO's consideration, I was able to remain on unpaid leave instead of resigning. When I reported the series of events at the company to my family, my wife and daughter both showed me smiles. Apparently, without me realizing it, I had been showing a terribly distressed expression at home for some time, and the two of them were very worried about me. When I saw my colleagues welcoming me back with great joy on the day I returned, I finally felt relieved. The system for the entire factory was immediately restored to normal operation from the backup I had, but of course I had to follow up afterwards since they had faced inconvenience for several days. In this way, everything returned to how it was before. Director Lena appeared except for one difference. I became the director of the development department. Until now, I have been enjoying the on-site work more than anything else, so I had turned down promotions to director. However, this incident taught me how much trouble an incompetent person in a managerial position can cause. To prevent such a situation from happening again, I resolved to become the director myself and lead the development department. Fortunately, the CEO has been taking extra care of his health since then and has regained his energetic demeanor. In order to repay the company and the CEO, I will continue to do my utmost from now on.